In this video, we're focused on burnout and burnout recovery. I asked my community what questions they had around burnout and burnout recovery, so I thought it would be helpful to share their questions and my answers with you as well. The topics range from balancing learning with healing, how to fix sleep issues, how to help when your teen is experiencing burnout, exercise, stress, and more. So let's get into it. Okay, so I have our questions here. I'm curious about your experience with exercise and burning out. Do you manage to do some, to which degree or intensity? I think I'm finding myself hopefully in the last period of burnout, feeling physiologically much better than before, though I still can't do any exercise. Anytime I try to move, I just regret the days after. I find movement is more important than exercise when in the recovery stages of burnout. Especially in the early stages, anything that feels like you're forcing or pushing yourself to do something is going to set you back more than move you forward. So I want you to think of restorative movements that feel good. This would be things like walking, vinyasa yoga, somatic exercises, stretching. Those are all great restorative movements that you can do at any stage of burnout recovery. Now, if you're in the later stages of burnout recovery, things that are physically exerting are totally fine, as long as it's an activity you enjoy and it's something you want to do. And there's nothing wrong with feeling tired or depleted in the hours or days afterwards, as long as you give yourself what you need to rest and recover. That's what recovering from burnout is. It's learning to honor ourselves and give ourselves what we need rather than pushing through all of the time. If you don't have time to get in proper recovery, don't do it. But if you're going to do the activity, make sure you give yourself time to rest and recover without shame or guilt. Question 2 is, can burnout be so bad that I get super tired from leaving the house, socializing for less than 2 hours, cooking, and going to a store? Yes, absolutely. That is completely normal. When you're experiencing burnout, anything outside of your comfort zone, i.e., your own home or any environment that you 100% control, anything outside of that can take everything out of you. And honestly, even when I'm not experiencing burnout, something like that would take a lot out of me and would require that I rest afterwards. Recovery from burnout is all about learning your own limits. And instead of being surprised or shaming yourself for these limitations, we have to learn to acknowledge them, accept them, and give ourselves the time and space that we need to rest and recover. Even if you don't feel like you should feel a certain way, it's important that you acknowledge the feeling and give yourself what you need to replenish. You don't have to earn rest. If rest is what you need, you can give it to yourself. And keep in mind, our limits can also vary depending on the environment, our stress levels, the people we're around, anything else that's going on in our life at the time. It's so important to learn how to tune into your body and listen to and honor what it's telling you instead of shutting it down and tuning it out. That is how we actually recover and don't get ourselves in this same situation months or years down the line. Question 3, how to release the brain from constant stress. My stress levels have been continuously high for over a year now. Are there some natural substances which work for this, or some meds? I hesitate to give you exact things to try because every person and every situation is different. And if you've been under constant stress for that long, you really need a very prescriptive approach. So I wouldn't just try one-off things. What you really need here is a multi-layered solution, both short-term and long-term. Identifying the source of the stress would be key to the long-term solution, and the goal of the short-term solution would be to alleviate the stress for long enough that you can think clearly, identify the root cause, and create a plan that you can then implement for long-term relief. If you've been dealing with chronic stress for over a year, I would highly recommend you work with a therapist or a coach to figure this out. Every situation is unique, and what works for somebody else may not be what works for you, and vice versa. You likely need an experienced third party to help you sort through your situation and help you implement a plan. I do offer one-on-one coaching packages, so I'll put the link in the description for anyone who might be interested in that. We can discuss your specific situation and figure out if I'm the best person to help you with what you're dealing with. That aside, I do have one thing I would challenge you and really anyone to try, I want you to do nothing for a minimum of 1 hour. Literally just do nothing. There's no pressure and no rules for how you do nothing. Just do nothing. I want you to observe what comes up for you during this time. And when the time is up, just go about your day. Try to do this every day for 1 week. Just do it and see what happens. Now you might be thinking, isn't that just meditation? Well, technically yes, but also no. With meditation, you're typically trying to clear your mind. And in this case, I don't want you to do any of that other than do nothing and observe. Whatever comes up, let it. Don't try to change it or get rid of it. Just notice it. There's also no expectation here to be sitting or laying down or be still or stay calm or keep your eyes closed. None of that. Whatever happens during that hour, just let it happen. Your goal is to do nothing and observe. That's it. And if you do this, let me know in the comments what comes up for you and what happens. So our next question is, how do you handle the process of trying to reverse nights and days while recovering from burnout? Ooh, okay, this is a really good one. I've struggled with this a lot. I tend to be tired during the day and get energy at night. So if I'm not mindful of my schedule, I can end up staying up until 1, 2, 3 in the morning. And then I have a hard time getting back to a normal routine. Every situation is different. And honestly, if a reverse schedule is working for you, keep doing it. There's no rule that says you have to be awake during the day and sleep at night. But I can understand why this schedule might not work for a lot of people. So here's my advice if it's causing problems in your life and you want to fix it. What I found for myself is when I don't get enough stimulation and I don't get tired enough during the day, I tend to stay up later and later at night, which leads to days and nights reversing. There is this belief that recovery from burnout requires us to rest all the time and never exert ourselves, but that isn't the case. What is required to heal from burnout is productive rest. We need to work to the level that we are capable of and then stop and rest instead of pushing forward. Recovery is all about finding what that level of capability is and then learning how we best rest and recover after, and then doing that over and over again, day after day. So if you are in a situation where your days and nights are flipped, it sounds like you need to do more to tire yourself out during the day so that you can rest at a reasonable time at night. Here are the steps I would take. First, I would create a restful environment for yourself so that when you are tired, you can go there and rest. So make your bed and your bedroom comfy and dark and inviting for rest. Anything stimulating or exciting in that environment should go. Your bed and your bedroom should not be a place where you go to tire yourself out, i.e., don't lay in bed and watch a show or endlessly scroll, hoping that you'll get tired enough to fall asleep. Instead, I want you to only go to bed when you are tired and actually ready to fall asleep. Step 2, I want you to come up with something that you can do to tire yourself out as part of your wind down routine. For some people, this is reading. This could also be cleaning your house, doing the laundry, sewing or crocheting, something of that nature. It's in your home. You can do it after you've gotten ready for bed. And it doesn't require a lot of mental stimulation to do. It's important that this is a mentally relaxing activity, not a mentally stimulating activity. So if you feel energized after cleaning your house, cleaning will not be your activity. If there's a genre of books that gives you energy when you read them, don't read that genre of book for your activity. Find whatever activity you can do that is restful and not mentally stimulating for you. 3 is to make sure you're getting enough mental and physical exertion during the day. Be mindful of your limits and capacity and don't push yourself past that limit, but it is important that you hit that limit every day. And you may find that you're someone who gets tired more frequently. So instead of 8 hours of sleep and 16 hours of activity, maybe you need 6 hours of sleep, 6 hours of activity, 2 hours of rest, and 10 hours of activity. Or maybe it's 4 hours of rest and 4 hours of activity on repeat. Hopefully you get the point here. The goal is to find what your ratio of activity to rest is, and then rework your schedule to fit into what you need. And 4 is to go to bed when you're tired. Don't worry about what time it is. So if you get tired at 7 p.m., go to bed then. If you get tired at 11 p.m., go to bed then. And if you need to take a nap during the day, then nap during the day. But then get up and do whatever level of activity you need to go to bed at a reasonable time that night. I hope those 4 tips are helpful. If you have questions or feedback, I'd love to hear them in the comments. And our next question, any advice for my 14-year-old daughter? She's been in burnout for 13 months. I know she needs rest, etc., but just wondering if there's anything else. If your daughter's been in burnout for 13 months, my question would be, what is being done to recover from the burnout? We don't just need rest to recover from burnout, we need productive rest. So in order to fully recover, it requires that we understand and honor our capacity and build boundaries and support for our productivity. If your daughter is simply resting without taking the next step of shaping boundaries and building a support system, she won't be able to fully recover and she'll be stuck in burnout limbo, where she isn't actively deep in the midst of burnout, but also isn't fully recovered. So what I would suggest is looking at the 4 pillars of burnout recovery: clear goals and communication, systems and support, boundaries, honoring needs, and following intuition. And I would help her understand herself and support her in figuring out what skills she needs to develop and what she needs to do on a day-to-day basis so that you can support her in those areas. And our next question, how to balance healing and learning about all of this psychological stuff. I want to learn, but I get overwhelmed by it. I think that's a balance most of us have a hard time with. Even though it may feel like it sometimes, healing isn't a full-time job, and it doesn't require that you get a degree to do it. It can be so tempting to hyper-focus and deep dive into anything and everything, but that level of dedication and obsession, while beautiful and a valuable skill, is probably part of the reason we're in this situation in the first place, right? So if you can resist the urge to learn everything and instead focus on making 1% improvements in your life gradually over time, you'll suddenly wake up one day and realize how much better your life is and how much less you struggle with things that used to be a huge challenge. The goal should be to learn little bite-sized pieces and little nuggets that you can take and implement. And if you start to feel overwhelmed, take a step back from it and recover before diving in to learn more. I hope all of this was helpful. This Q&A was so much fun. If you have additional questions or follow-up questions that you want me to answer, drop them in the comments and I'll either respond or make another video that addresses your specific question. And if you're struggling with overwhelm right now or don't know where to start, check the link in the description for my Limitless Life check-in. It's a questionnaire that will help you get a pulse on where you are in different areas of life and give you clarity on where you might want to begin. And in the meantime, check out this next video.